morning, good afternoon, whatever time of day it is that you are listening, folks. Thank you very, very much for listening. Date today is the 2nd of January of our Lord 2024. Welcome to yet another edition of the Coping Hour, hosted by Motown Noah. Well, not Motown Noah. Well, it is hosted by Motown Noah, but for all intents and purposes, hosted by Nicholas Hinkle. Thank you very, very much for joining us on this special New Year's post-New Year. It's a New Year's Day recap episode, basically. Not really. We're kind of just going over stuff that happened over the weekend. And to start the show, we're not even doing that because I have a gift. I have something to give you guys. I wanted to do this for the holidays. Something tangible, right? We're all materialistic. We just love getting cool shit. It's no big deal. Cool shit's awesome. Oh, you're going to give me something? That's awesome. Oh, I'm not only did you give me something, but it's also cool shit. Awesome. Cool. The Evergreen episode that I uploaded didn't really feel like a great gift. The video just didn't really turn out the way that I wanted it to. Like, I didn't even use any breakouts from it because I was like, this just kind of sucks. Mainly because the articles that I was writing actually turned out to not be that interesting. Because as it turns out, the way that I wrote is the exact same way that I talk. And it turns out that that does not translate very well to paper. Who would have thunk it? Guess who was only writing for like 2 years and then was just like, just need to be on camera. This guy. This guy, right? So I wanted to do something else. And what that turned into was, I'll give them New Year's resolutions so that way they can follow the Motown Noah lifestyle. And then whatever like the top G adjacent of this channel is, that's what you can become if you follow these guidelines, right? And I was mainly speaking towards what, according to my analytics, is my most targeted demographic, which is the 25 to 34-year-old man. That's who is like in my wheelhouse right now, okay? Followed very closely, by the way, by 18 to 24, and then not far behind, a lot of 40-year-olds out there. So also 40-year-old dudes, right? Shout out to you guys, the 40-year-old kings, okay? I'm not at 40 yet. I can't get to 40. That's crazy to me still right now, I'm turning 26 this year. 30 to me, I'm like almost excited to get there because to me, I need to get back on fucking track here. But to me, the most exciting thing in the world was when I started working around a bunch of 30-year-olds and I was like, oh, like you guys are still here. Like you guys are still here. You know what I mean? Like you guys are still rooted. And now granted, when you're working for a fucking digital media company, yeah, you have to be sort of in the know. So those are the types of 30-year-olds that I was around. But like that's what I'm going to be. You know what I mean? I'm going to be online. So it was cool to see, okay, so you just are funnier because you have more perspective. You're not just immediately lame. Okay, thank God. I'm excited to turn 30. I can't get to 40 yet. So I'll pump the brakes. Anyways. So what were some of the New Year's resolutions that I was going to put? Well, that's the problem is it turned into like, because I was targeting those demographics, I was like, stop using 2-in-1s in the shower, shampoo plus conditioner. Stop. Call your mom like once a month or whoever like the strongest female figure in your life is, right? / stop using your girlfriend as your mom. Stop using them as like an emotional workshop for you to refine your shit. Like do that on your own. They're not an emotional soundboard. You know what I mean? That's not on them. And then I was like, I just don't want to do 15 minutes on this. I could, but I don't want to. Also because I think in that same demo, I think I've just targeted very emotionally available men. So I don't think you guys most of you probably don't need to hear that, but some of you do, right? So I didn't want to do that. Instead, to get to the point, we're gonna be doing the 2024 Motown Noah bingo card, okay? Now, before we get into it and I switch over to the graphic, let me just say this. This might take a while. This might take a while to get through. It might take so long that at some point you might see me punt mentally. There's going to be a moment where it happens, okay? In the moment that happens, I need to have the presence of mind to just speed through it because I need to get through it, okay? So without further ado, this is your New Year's gift. Let's go through the 2024 Motown Noah bingo card. Up first, I wanted to go with something easy. I wanted to go with something that I could look at and like at any point, this is probably going to happen, right? We needed an easy junk ball right down the middle. Someone famous is going to die. Someone famous dies is first up. Second, let's go to the NBA. The Clippers blow it up. Are the Clippers at some point going to be like, yeah, maybe Paul George to Indiana is actually, maybe that's a fun reunion for him. Maybe they can give us a bunch of cool shit. I don't know. Kind of jumpstart this thing or like Not really blow it up because with the new arena coming in, I guess they're probably not going to want to really blow it up. But in terms of doing something with Paul George, Kawhi, probably not. I don't know. In some form, the Clippers doing something weird is bound to happen, right? Up next, Bryan Cranston has another moment. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know what is on the slate. I haven't checked what his projects are. I don't know what's going on. He might just be doing theater, honestly, because that's what he likes to do. But I feel like 10 years removed from Breaking Bad, he's been in like best actor categories since then at the Oscars. Was it for Trumbo, I think? I think it was the same year that it was 2016, so it was Leo for The Revenant. He won. Matt Damon for The Martian. Eddie Redmayne for The Danish Girl. I think it was Bryan Cranston in Trumbo. And then I think there was somebody else. But anyways, I think Bryan Cranston is due for like another kind of, and not just for, not Casamigos, his tequila, whatever it is, right? Dos Hombres. Not for Dos Hombres. Doesn't count. On the silver screen. Anyways, up next, people will learn why the Pistons had to give away so much in the Luke Kennard trade. What is that all about? Well, that would mean that Troy Weaver would get fired. The only way we find this out is if Troy Weaver gets fired, because, folks, I got to tell you something. There's some funny stories out there that, at the risk of being the guy who's like, "Ooh, I know something that you guys can't know." Yeah, I'm sorry that I sound like that guy right now. But there are some stories out there that we're only going to get to hear publicly the real truth of it when this regime is gone. And one of those things is why the Pistons gave away like 5 second-round picks in the Luke Kennard trade. It's funny. We've talked on, there's actually been some rumblings out there already about maybe something that happened on the night that the Pistons drafted Jaden Ivey. Maybe we'll have to look into that. And that, by the way, could happen if Jaden Ivey is traded, but I don't know if you can see in the bottom right-hand corner. We'll get to that in a little bit. Anyways, on to the next one. Aaron Rodgers has a documentary come out in 2024. We've been saying for a few weeks on this show now, I believe he was going to come back. I believe he was. And I believe, behind the scenes, dude, there's no way that he was going through this historic process, coming back from an injury faster than like physically anyone in the history of the world has ever been able to, in an attempt to disprove medical science and say that it's all bullshit. You don't think Aaron Rodgers had a fucking camera crew? There's no way. There's no way. Even if you don't think he was going to come back, like, the spectacle of it was the purpose then, right? It was the theater of it was the purpose, right? Okay, why would he have been doing that? I mean, he's a whatever, right? Aaron Rodgers is going to have a documentary come out. Up next, Detroit Lions win the Super Bowl. Had to throw it in there. Sorry. Even after Reportgate in Dallas, which, by the way, not even going to do a segment on the Lions later. I'm just not. I actually don't have a take on it. Whatever. The take would be, I'm glad one of those bullshit Lions losses happened in the regular season when there's a chance to just get over it. It doesn't matter. Whatever. It happened. Because if that happened in the playoffs, it's a problem, right? Right now, yeah, and it's a problem because now the one seeds go whatever. I don't care. It happened in the regular season. We're fine. If that happens in the playoffs, hey. But the Detroit Lions winning the Super Bowl in 2024 is on the bingo sheet. Up next, Zion gets traded? Whoa, where is that coming from? Doesn't it kind of feel like he'd be up next? If we're talking about a guy who doesn't just get traded all the time, like James Harden getting traded doesn't count. That's not he theoretically he could be next. He's not going to be, but he could be, right? But in terms of a guy who's never been traded before and we're kind of looking at for the first time, is it actually going to happen or is he going to stick around? Just kind of feels like this has been trending in the direction that maybe these two parties aren't going to get along. Up next, Joe Mazzulla stops being a freak. Challenge impossible is what I should have put under that parenthetically, because no way, right? That dude's fucking insane. That dude's nuts. He's a nut job. Up next, someone in the NBA gets canceled. I'm thinking it's going to happen around November. At the beginning of the season, when the election cycle is in full swing, I think someone's going to say something crazy. I think there's going to be whatever the Republican Party, Democratic Party, whichever one latches on to something to use as like this is what we're going to talk about during the election, and like this is all we're going to care about, right? They pick a different thing every election cycle that like they use as like this device to, it's going to be because of that. I don't know what it's going to be. It could easily be like immigrants or something in especially with what's going on in Chicago right now, right? Actually, there you go, because the DNC is happening here too, and the migrant crisis is not going to be resolved here. I think the last time I was reading about it was like a week or two ago, and right now there are at least 26,000 migrants in Chicago right now, and the shit that is being done to them is fucking nuts. It's fucking devastating what's going on here. So I honestly think that that's going to be something that riles people up, and I don't think it's out of the question to think that somebody in the NBA is going to say something fucking insane, right? A few years ago, I think this could have been Becky Hammon. Because the stealth word on her is that she's been a Trump supporter for like ever, right? Which was always wild because she was under Pop. So that's why I always had a hard time believing that. But I was like, really? And then I had one time somebody was like, yeah, that's why she like hasn't gotten a job. And I was like, that's fucking weird. That would be wild if that's why she hasn't got a job. Also, it would be hilarious if the first time that there's a woman who like could get a job in the NBA, they're like, no, she's a Trump supporter. Like, what the fuck? Huh? How did that happen? All right. Up next, Flo from Progressive hangs it up. I think she's going to get to a point in her career where she's like, maybe it's time to do, something more dramatic. Maybe it's time to do some theater. I've been in this role for so long. You know what I mean? She's made her money. We talked about it a few weeks ago. Flo from Progressive cashes checks, dude. I think she's going to hang him up. Or we get do we get a new Jake from State Farm? I don't think he's been in the job long enough. He's been in it sneaky a while, if you think about it. Like, he's been in it a while, longer than you probably think. But she's been in it she's been in the game for like 10 plus, right? Up next, Jimmy Kimmel is removed as host of the Oscars after being on the Epstein flight logs. I don't know if that list is coming out, this week, like we're being told it is. For me, it's kind of turning into the alien disclosure shit, which, not to spoil anything, but is up next. But the Epstein list is kind of turning into the same thing, where it's like, show me the aliens, all right? Stop fucking telling me about them. Stop telling me that, like, almost in a little bit we'll hear about it. Almost in a little bit we'll see it, right? It's the Epstein, like, little black list and a UFO disclosure. It's like the same picture, right? We're just always so close, and we get these little crumbs, and then they're like, oh, yeah. But, hey, if the Epstein thing is about to happen, if some shit's about to happen, then okay, cool. I don't think we're going to be that surprised at a lot of the names, but I want there to be some names on there that were like, what the fuck? Like, devastating names. Unless it's like, here's the thing. I swear to God, if Leonardo DiCaprio is on the flight logs, God forbid he is, but if he's on the flight logs, no one's going to care. I don't think anyone's going to care. It's always so funny to me when people are like, we all know what Leo does. We all know what he does. Now, publicly, it's all legal, so it's like, whatever. But we all know what it is. But it's like, are you going to be the fucking guy that does that cancels Leonardo DiCaprio? You're going to be that guy? No, you're not. You know why? Because Killers of the Flower Moon was awesome. Everything that he's in, we're all like, fuck, I got to get to the theater and see this. You're not going to be that guy. Hell no. I swear to God, he's on the flight list. They're not going to care. No one's going to care. Anyways, up next, alien disclosure happens. Been hearing about David Grush for like almost a year now. I'm like almost too online with all this like UFO shit on Reddit. Like, I'm almost too online with it and the amount of stuff that I consume and that I quote unquote know about it, which is most of it is disinformation anyways, whatever. Not disinformation, but just like it's Reddit, so it's just wrong. I don't know, man. Feels like maybe we're close. Up next, free space. Can literally be anything. If you need the free space, there it is. Up next, there's a disinformation campaign against Bronny James. What am I talking about here? Well, if Bronny leaves USC, which I kind of don't think he will. I don't know if there's like if that's a thing, if we know yet, but I don't think he's going to. I think he's going to stay at one more year. He'll do 2 years because LeBron's a free agent next year, right? I should probably look into that first, but I'm pretty sure LeBron's a free agent next year, and it would probably do Bronny some good to do one more year, right? Even maybe just for his health. But let's say he comes out this year. First of all, his stock is going to be inflated by his name alone and by the prospect that whoever drafts him, like we've heard 100 times, whoever drafts Bronny is also going to get LeBron at some point, right? So just that in and of itself is kind of like just incentive to draft Bronny, even if you don't really quote unquote want him. It's like, well, we want LeBron James, even if by then he's 40, 41 years old. Who cares? He just had 40 the other night. Like, he's fine. He's fine. LeBron's fine. Shoot him up with some more HGH. He'll be fine. Well, do you wonder if you're a team, let's say, just for the sake of it, Bronny's going 15th. Let's say that's his target. He's going 15th at the end of the lottery. Okay. Well, what if I'm picking 23rd and I can't trade up? No one will trade up with me. Like, I can't get anything done. I'd have to overpay way too much, whatever. What if somebody just starts, like, throwing shit out there? They hire, like, a PI, whatever they do, and they just start throwing some disgusting narratives out there about this kid so he drops. You know what I mean? And they play this chess match of, like, fucking, it's like Succession in real life, basically, just to get this kid to drop so they can draft him. Disinformation campaign against Bronny James on the bingo list. Up next, a second gay video will hit the Senate. I don't know if you guys saw the video. It's pretty funny. It's pretty funny of those Senate staffers at Amy Klobuchar's desk on the Senate floor. It's pretty funny. When it happened, I was like, how is this not a bigger story? This is incredible. How is this not a bigger story? And then it became a bigger story like 3 days later. It took a few days for the media to pick it up. But then it became a bigger story, and I immediately realized why. I was like, oh, yeah, this is what I didn't want, right? Because it's just food for conservatives. Like, that's just food. Food. But then, the holidays kind of happened, and now no one's really talking about it anymore. Maybe it'll come back. Maybe once they break from, like, holiday recess, they come back. They're like, hey, we're still mad about that gay Senate video. We're still mad about that, by the way. Maybe. Up next, Taylor and Travis get married. Please. God, please. If there's anything in this world that I care about. It used to be Harry and Meghan. Used to be. I'm out on Harry and Meghan. They are not, I think they're sneaky grifters. Sneaky, like Bill Simmons was right about them. Like, sneaky. I didn't read Heir and a Spare, the book. I didn't read it. Because by then even I was just kind of like, something about you guys, man. You're kind of just rubbing me the wrong way. I still like them, but I'm not consuming them anymore. Like, whatever. Passively, I kind of like them, I guess. But Taylor and Travis, dude, I'm so in. I love it so much. Super, like big time guilty pleasure, Taylor and Travis. So I hope they get married. Up next, the Dodgers don't win a World Series. I don't need to explain this one. That one's just funny. Up next, Shohei does something that no one has done since specifically 1922. Feels pretty easy, especially with the Dodgers, because now he opens himself up to all of their history books too, right? He had already kind of chipped away at some with the Angels, but now he's got a whole new franchise. So I think although when have the Dodgers, but surely the Dodgers have been around since at least 1922, right? Surely. Some form of them, even if they were in Brooklyn. So specifically 1922. Up next, the Detroit Pistons trade for somebody that they shouldn't trade for. This can be anybody. You'll have to judge it at the time. If the Pistons make a trade, you'll just have to judge it, and you'll have to trust your own vibes on it. That's all. Up next, James Harden is in a Lil Baby video. Now, after I typed this, I realized after some recent Lil Baby allegations, this sort of has a double meaning, especially with their friendship. What I meant by this is James Harden is just a big Lil Baby music fan, so he's going to be in a video of some sort. Because I wanted to do it like, does James Harden like make his rap debut on like somebody's album? Like he has like, someone gives him like 4 bars on a feature, something real small. I just don't foresee that happening. I wanted to go somewhat realistic, so I'm just going Harden in a Lil Baby video. Up next, there's a false flag attack somewhere in the world. That's it. I'm putting it on there, but again, I'm just going to let you. Up next, AMC and Nicole Kidman part ways. Maybe that's the false flag attack, by the way. If this happens, really check the source on it. Really consider, like, why would this information be coming out right now? about this person, about this party. Really think about that if AMC and Nicole Kidman part ways. Think really critically. Can I give a replacement suggestion? Which, by the way, AMC is the only company, the only the only brand in the world that I would fall on a grenade for, truly. And a lot of it has to do with Nicole Kidman as her role as the spokeswoman for AMC. Now, because of that, if they did ever part ways, it would be like a third plane had hit the towers, right? That would be me. All-time bad day. If I can make a suggestion, if this ever does happen, which God forbid it does, Kirk Herbstreit. Can I suggest Kirk Herbstreit as the new spokesperson for AMC? All right, on to the next one. The NBA announces a new domestic violence policy that does not work. Yeah, something like, oh, we've evaluated these different sort of levels and variables of and contingencies of these specific instances and disputes, and based on those is how we will properly weigh and convey a suspension upon a player. It's going to be like lawyer nonsense, and then they're just going to go back to like, but it's not like nothing's going to fucking work. Up next, the Las Vegas Sphere displays election results. I don't think they're going to go like full face of whoever wins. You know what I mean? Like the entire, like, is like a big stretched out meme, like blown out, like deep fried president's face on the Las Vegas Sphere. I don't mean like that. Just something really simple, because I wanted to go like somebody tries to assassinate the Las Vegas Sphere emoji. But I just don't think that's going to happen. If that happened, it would be like a fourth planet at the towers. And up next, the final spot on the Motown Noah 2024 bingo sheet. Jaden Ivey gets traded. Could happen. Could happen. We're at 22 minutes. Oh, my God. Okay, that's the bingo sheet. That's the bingo sheet. On to something else. I actually felt kind of guilty the other day because I didn't make a video when the Pistons won a game. The Detroit Pistons beat the Toronto Raptors. We broke the streak. Did not make history, by the way, which is that almost the annoying part here? Is like, if you're going to be this bad, you might as well just have the record. And now you tied. It's like Alex Rodriguez retiring at 697 home runs. It's like, oh my God. You're right there, right on the doorstep. And then they're like, nope. But at the same time, man, hey, if that was the moment to win it, if that was the moment to, that was when it was going to happen, what am I going to do? Say no? To see how much it meant to those players, like, that was incredible. But it was weird for me because I didn't feel anything at all. Like, I was happy, but I didn't feel anything at all. That's why I didn't record a video. I didn't want to fake it. I didn't want to just throw the buffs on and start screaming and yelling and pounding my chest just because that's what I'm supposed to do. That's what that's what I historically do on the channel. I just didn't feel it. I was just this is gonna sound really stupid, but the spectacle that they had become, and the fact that people were watching us, and there was something tangible about this team that you could identify and be like, this is kind of why we're all watching. That spectacle ended. There was a very real bubble that burst where it's now you're just another bad team. Now there's not, and it's you know what I mean? It's different. Now you won a game and now you're not on this big losing streak, and now you're just, 3-29, whatever you are, right? You're just another bad team. So that was kind of weird. And I say that as the guy who has spent the last 2 weeks complaining that everybody's talking about my team and that everybody needs to stop talking about my team and how much it's bothering me and how insecure I was about it. But then again, suddenly when that spectacle is over, you're kind of like, oh, it's just done. And that's not to say, again, that I wasn't yes, it's over. We did it. We did it. Ever since Cam Thomas said what he said about nobody wants to be that team, that's the craziest thing to hear about your team. That people are so scared that they're going to be, not scared, but they don't want to be that team. And then even Kuz, by the way, chiming in on that and being yeah, nobody wants to be that team. It's bro, you are the same team though. It's the same picture. What are you talking about? But then the fucking Toronto Raptors became that team. How funny was that? How funny was that? I don't care if it took the OG Anunoby trade, which, by the way, oh my God. I'm going to derail this. The Pistons won a game. Good for them. Good for them. I'm sorry. I'm going to do an OG Anunoby thing. I'm just wrapping up the Pistons. I'm so happy for the players, dude. I really am. This is kind of that moment if you're Cade where it's like, this is it. This is where you'll be able to look back and, you know, you really had to refine your shit, chisel your shit out, go through this hardship and like dig yourself out of the mud. You know, as corny as it is, like this is what happens. This is how dudes are made. Especially historically in Detroit. Like Zeke went through the same stuff. You know, when they were playing at like the Silverdome. Was Dick Vitale ever his coach, or was that too early? I think Dick was before Zeke was here. I digress. Pistons did it, dude. And truthfully, I wish I could do the whole pounding my chest thing and like, you know, screaming and all that. I wish I could, but I don't feel it. OG Anunoby gets traded to the Knicks. And you know what it made me realize? Why do we even use the trade machine anymore? We don't understand how these trades are valued anymore. I don't think we do. Maybe I'm projecting. I'll say I don't understand how they work anymore. And it also makes me look at a player like Lauri Markkanen, and I think, like, I don't think people are ready for that. I don't think people are ready for what it might cost for somebody to go get him. Because teams thinking that they can get away with, like, late firsts from, like, 2028 and, like, stuff are crazy. And, like filler are crazy. And obviously, I guess I don't even need to call that out because I know most of you guys know that. But there's got to be something that, like, resets the market in some way. You know what I was wondering? I don't think I've made this point on the show yet. You know what I was wondering if a market could get reset in terms of how we're acquiring coaches in sports. Because of what the Cubs just did with the Brewers, they had David Ross as their manager, and then they were like, no, actually, we just want a different manager while we still have one, and they acquired – still don't even understand how they got him. Then they acquired Craig Counsell from the Brewers, and we're like, David Ross is not our manager anymore. It's Craig Counsell. We're Craig Counsell guys now. Like, I just want more coach trades, too. But let me steer this thing back in the right direction. OG Anunoby getting traded for RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley in like a second, to me, just feels like, and maybe I'm just overvaluing RJ Barrett, but I was just like, is this, so the Knicks are just doing let Jalen Brunson cook? Like, that's what we're doing? Oh, okay. I watched enough Knicks basketball, I guess, to understand, but wasn't RJ Barrett, like, weren't people going to dive for him? And, like, Emmanuel Quickley, like, weren't dudes, like, ready to die for them? I don't know. But they do love Jalen Brunson. But that's true, though, is if you're doing the let Jalen Brunson cook thing, is more than anybody, this is where I'm being dumb, is more than anybody they love Jalen Brunson. There was even an email or two at the beginning of this, like in the infancy of this show, where a guy was like, Jalen Brunson already means more to me than, I think he said, like, Knicks Mello or something. It was someone crazy where I was like, really? Like, already? So, yeah, that makes sense. The Pistons won a game. I'm sorry, and I wish I had something more fun to say about it. I'm really proud of them. I was really excited that night. I don't live in Michigan, so I couldn't participate in the whole Wingstop thing. Sounds like not a lot of people could, though. I guess a lot of people just, like, didn't work. Never got a follow-up on that. I don't know if anybody ever really got their wings, but I didn't. Let's move on. We got an email here from Andrew. I figure since we were just talking about Wingstop and wings, this would be a good time for me to insert my, like, wing PSA, because I have a spiel on wings that I would like to do. And Andrew, I will not be reading the entirety of this email because, quite frankly, it is manic as fuck, and it's a fine email. It's a good email. I don't need it. Sometimes I feel bad when I call you guys out for sending insane emails. I immediately get a follow-up that's like, I'm sorry for sending a crazy email. Or you, like, leave a comment. Don't apologize. It's funny. It's funny. I'm just not going to read all of this. Andrew's question can be boiled down to drums or flats. And, like, what do I want? Like, what flavor do I want my wings to be? If I'm getting them from Wingstop, if we're talking about Wingstop wings, I need their lemon pepper. Dude, Wingstop lemon pepper is insane. It's like been the only lemon pepper that I've found that I like. Well, it's mainly because I just prefer the dry rub, and most places don't. So that's why. But from a drums versus flats perspective, honestly, well, first of all, I would prefer drums. But here's the take. Here's the take that people aren't going to want to hear from me. Just give me boneless. Just give me it's just chicken nuggets. Oh, fucking K. Okay? They're delicious. I literally don't care. Oh, no, now they're only chicken nuggets. I love chicken nuggets. Fine. That's fine. If I'm getting them from B-dubs, I do mild or medium every single time. I've always wanted to do... well, the honey barbecue is good, too. You guys don't even know the barbecue sauce kick I've been on. My whole life, I hated barbecue sauce. My whole life, I hated it. When we went to Puerto Rico less than a month ago, this was like 4 weeks ago. We were in Puerto Rico, right? On the flight, right before the flight home, in the airport in Puerto Rico, we were in Margaritaville, and I was drunk, and I got chicken fingers, and it came with barbecue sauce, and I was like, whatever, like I'm in Puerto Rico, went in San Juan, and it went in Margaritaville, and so I just dipped into the barbecue sauce. I was like, this is the best thing I've ever had in my life. I was like, what is this? Just like, what is this? She's like, probably Sweet Baby Ray's, like it's fucking barbecue sauce. I was like, oh my God. Since then, I have been like breakfast, lunch, and dinner eating barbecue sauce. I'm so serious. I'm obsessed with it. Anyways, wings. I say that, but the honey barbecue wings like that as a wing, I don't really like it that much. I guess it's just not what I want for wings. I want like that buffalo sauce flavor. The only other thing that I would want is lemon pepper. But the ultimate take that I have here is that please get boneless wings. Please do it. I'll eat it if it's bone in. And if it's bone in, I want the drum. Because flats are annoying because there's like that push that you have to, like, you got to like push the meat depending on how you do it. You got to get all cutesy and it's bullshit. It's annoying and I don't like it. With drums, you're just like, you're in and you're out. You're in and you're out. Or with boneless, you put a fork in it and you just, and then it's gone. And then it's delicious. Oh, but then I only ate a chicken nugget. Ooh, fuck you. What I was super adamant on when the Pistons were losing a bunch of games, I can say that now, was that you don't know how it feels. I hated when people tried to empathize with me, with the exception of 2 fan bases. If you were a 2012 Bobcats fan, or if you were a Process Sixers fan, or if you were like an early 2010s Cavs fan, then you can also relate. We got a pretty good email here, actually, from Mira. They are a 2012 Bobcats fan. And on the heels of the Pistons finally winning a game, I think it would be fun to go over this. Main thesis. I've compiled 5 lessons Pistons fans can learn from me, a 2012 Bobcats fan. Number 1, Cade Cunningham is your Kemba Walker, a poor, sad boy trapped in hell. And one sad boy alone cannot bring a team to the pearly gates of heaven. Number 2, 28 and counting straight losses. Oh, okay, so this was written a few days ago. Well, the Pistons have actually won a game since now, Mira. 28 and counting straight losses is impressive, but you'll probably do it again, and I will read the body for this. What makes the Bobcats season in 2012 so special is not just that they went into the All-Star break 4-28. It's that after they went 3-31, including a 23-game losing streak to end the year. You might think that teams start to rest up for the playoffs, the Pistons are going to be able to rattle off a few trash wins against some garbage benchers. This is not what happened with the Bobcats, and it won't happen with the Pistons. Your team is going to get more demotivated and more disillusioned with winning. Your locker room will be divided. Meanwhile, good vibes, camaraderie, and avoiding the embarrassment of losing to the Pistons will fuel the scrappy bench lineups of your opponents. Yeah, exactly what we were just talking about, which is like, as soon as teams start to identify you guys as like the don't lose to them, don't be that team that loses to them, you're cooked. Yeah, so to your point, that's why I wanted to read that, is because it was literally just what we talked about. Okay, number 3, a jersey/logo rebrand is probably coming soon. Maybe. I'd be kind of surprised if they did. There were some rumblings like 2 years ago that they were kind of starting to ramp that up internally, but I don't know if there was ever any progress. I don't know where that ended up being. I know the Lions, for what it's worth, are getting new uniforms next year. Kind of getting, I don't know if they're doing like a rebrand, like tweaking a little bit. The rumor right now is that they're going to switch to a modern 90s look. And if the mock-ups that came out are true, they look nasty. All right. Up next, number 4, people in your fan base will start pleading for Michael Jordan to come out of retirement to play for your team as we near the All-Star break. This one might be a bit too specific to the Bobcat situation, I'll admit. Yeah, for us, that would be like people wanting Blake, like to sign Blake. Maybe our equivalent was the Dwight Howard tweet where he was like, the Pistons should get John Wall, Isaiah Thomas, myself, Blake Griffin, like Zach Randolph. Like, okay. Trevor Ariza. All right. Number 5. Hey, on the bright side, you might get a John Boy documentary made about your special little team. How fun will that be? If Secret Base makes a video about my basketball team, I'm going to lose my fucking mind. I'm going to lose my mind. Kofi, John, don't make a video about us. Email coming into us from Ethan. Subject line, glazing. Question, why has it suddenly become corny online to enjoy basketball to compliment players? Jokic will have 46, 15, and 12 on 136% true shooting, and I'll see a post that says, wow, Jokic had a great game. And then there will be a million comments all saying the exact same fucking thing. The glazing is crazy. They're doing tricks on it. They're bouncing up and down on it. Insert Krispy Kreme donut gif. It pisses me off so fucking much because do these people even enjoy basketball? If you can't appreciate a star player having a good game, then why do you follow the NBA on social media? I feel like this is part of a bigger issue where 12-year-olds and people who have a small amount of NBA knowledge feel the need to comment their opinion on every social media post. I'm the only one in my IRL friend group that likes sports, so I want to talk about it online. But it feels like half the people I interact with were struck simple. Best regards, Ethan. Ethan, this is a fantastic email, and you bring up a fantastic point. These people's brains are cooked, like, honestly. And it's the crazy part is it's not always kids. Like, there are still, I say, full-grown adult men who are, like, 28, right? And this is just, like, what they do. They'll just, like, be scrolling on Instagram, and if it's LeBron, they'll just be, like, bum or, like, Mickey Mouse. I'm serious. Go in these comments. Like, specifically on, like, I don't know, you can't really do it on Instagram. I'm sorry, on YouTube. I was going to say on like Instagram and like, I know TikTok was this way too. If you like click on these profile pictures and it's just like a dude like with his kids, but he's like mixing it up in like the World Star comments being like LeBron's a pussy. Like what the fuck? The hell? You have kids. Like what? Oh, maybe that was too specific of an example. I'm sorry. Maybe that was only funny to me. But it's crazy because when it is the kids, I don't know. If you want to talk about this on like a deeper level, what it probably is when Twitter was formed, you know, and it was used as like this town square where people like had conversations. Like, don't ever let people tell you that was happening on Twitter because it fucking wasn't. Like you see what people were tweeting. You saw what I was tweeting in 2011, right? You see what like Kevin Durant was tweeting in 2010. Like it was a lawless land. People were saying anything. So it was never about that. And even like in the modern day, like when it's like Elon's Twitter, like it is the town square, right? That is where people go, but it's not the place that people are having this conversation because it's just an engagement driven platform, right? And so when you tie that into the NBA, these shorter controversial quips are always going to be like what drives engagement. And so I honestly think this is like the product of social media and like the Skip Baylesses of the world, right? And how much more accessible those types of takes are and those types of people are. It's just brain rot is really all that it is. So Skip Bayless also feeding into it and like still as like a 60-year-old man just being like the biggest fucking hater in the world to LeBron. Like, yeah, it's funny, but he's also like who's the guy who always talks about Hooters and like America onto Nick Adams? Is that his name? Nick Adams? Skip Bayless is just like the Nick Adams of basketball at this point. You know what I mean? Like, is it even a fucking real person at this point? I guess, man. But it is a bummer. I would say most of these people probably, like, do they care about basketball? No, probably not. Some of them maybe do, but a lot of them just mix it up in comment sections just to mix it up in comment sections. That's really all that they do. Like, those are the types of people that, like, God forbid they see a post about Brittany Griner. Oh, my God. I loved that people one of my favorite phenomenons in the world, and I talk about this all the time, is when something happens culturally and then everybody's an expert on it. And the most recent example is what? the submersible implosion, right? Everybody was a fucking implosion expert at like depths of thousands of feet. Everybody's like, oh, well, this is what would happen to the fucking submersible. Fuck you. You don't know. You watched a TikTok the same way I did. Fuck you. People do that shit literally all the time. Why did I bring that up? What was I talking about? That totally derailed my train of thought. Got an email here from Brandon. I think it's kind of like a fan etiquette. He brings up an interesting question. Subject line, teams you hate. Is there a team that you absolutely hate? For example, I'm a hardcore Saints fan. Today I drank at an Irish pub and I had a choice. I could either watch my Saints versus the Bucks or the Atlanta Falcons versus the Bears. I consciously decided to watch Atlanta versus Chicago because I enjoy watching Atlanta lose more than watching the Saints win. Does this make me a bad fan? Does this make me a great fan? Or does anything really matter and I'm just so empathetic to everything that I need to go to therapy for this? Do you have teams in any sport that you just hate that much, or is it just my style? Love the show. Keep it up, my guy. Thanks for the email, Brandon. Does it make you a bad fan or a good fan that you would rather watch your rival lose more than you'd rather watch your team win? Well, it's weird because the Saints have something to play for. You guys aren't out of it, I don't think, right? So that part of it, again, assuming you guys haven't been mathematically eliminated, which I don't think you have, that's crazy. Although, is it the Bucks that have kind of taken whatever's going on in the NFC South? Like, I don't care. That's wild. That definitely makes you a sicko, if nothing else. But I think it makes you... I don't really think it falls in either. It's weird. I think it's just a wild thing to want to do. I don't know if there's a team in any sport that, especially the Lions right now, like, you know, in my life, I've hated the Pittsburgh Penguins are the team that I hate probably more than anybody in the world, honestly. Miami, I don't love. The Heat, sorry. Don't love the Heat. I'd have to go down like this, you know, the list of all the teams in like every major sport. But ultimately, there's definitely not one that I hate enough that I would rather watch them lose than watch my favorite team win. Even at like the height of me hating Michigan, which, by the way, I haven't done anything on the college football playoff. This is hitting me in real time. This entire show, I was like, I'm forgetting something. There's something that I'm forgetting to do, and I didn't know what it was, and it was from the jump, and it was because I was supposed to lead with the college football playoff. I woke up, and I was like, I forgot to do the bingo sheet. I meant to do that last night after the playoff, but then I just went to bed. And then I woke up, started hammering the bingo sheet, looked at the time, was like, I just need to start recording. And because that was the last thing that I did, I was like, well, I can just lead with this. This is perfect. Okay, all right. We're going to do college football playoff stuff here in just a second. Brandon, I'm sorry that your email got cut short. This is nuts. Truly an unprecedented clown show the Coping Hour has become. Michigan versus Alabama in the Rose Bowl. That game truly is the spectacle that it is meant to be seemingly every single year. The game that venue deserves, the game that setting deserves, it truly delivers year after year. Shout out to Kirk Herbstreit, by the way, for becoming the all-time leader in Rose Bowls broadcasted. He has now called 16 Rose Bowls. Nobody has done more than him. And I think he deserves it because I think Kirk Herbstreit is literally the best in the world. I think he's the best at everything. Michigan, Alabama. First half, boy, oh boy, was this game not close at all while simultaneously being close in score. 13-10 at halftime, but Michigan was they knew what to throw at Jalen Milroe. He couldn't figure them out. And then on offense, they were like firing on all cylinders, but it was just weird stuff that kept getting in their way. Special team stuff was really weird. The game felt cursed, honestly, from like a really, really early part in that game. Michigan ending up winning. Like, I don't honestly even have that much analysis on like anything that I say analysis as if that's what I fucking do here. But like, I don't even have that much to say about stuff that happened in the game. I was kind of devastated to see Michigan end up pulling it out, especially in the fashion that they did. Felt like maybe Alabama was kind of going to go down and it was going to be over, and it was over until it wasn't. Michigan playing for a natty sucks because I'm happy for Jim Harbaugh, but then it's also like, why are we even like, okay, if they win a natty, if they win the Natty. We'll talk about that in a second. But if they win, aren't we all just going to be like, okay, but the NCAA is going to do something about this? Sure, like pop your champagne, like do the confetti, whatever. But the NCAA is going to vacate this, right? Or are we just not? Are we just done with that? Are we just not going to talk about that anymore? Okay, all right. Well, I mean, I say that even though we definitely are in the midst of like even weirder information coming out in the last week or so. But yeah, this is what we were all saying as soon as this was all coming out. It's like, okay, so if Michigan moonwalks to a national championship, okay, cool, I guess. Probably going to get it taken away. So whatever. You go on to Washington and Texas. This game truly was everything that I wanted it to be. Even if with 15 minutes in real time until the game was supposed to be over, it looked like the game was like, I was kind of starting to do other things, and then it was just a game again. It was just a game again. As of this recording, there's like not a real update on Dylan Johnson. For him to get an injury in that moment, and it really felt like that was kind of the first domino to fall in Texas's direction, where it was like, no way this is going to happen. There's no way that this is going to happen. It was that fucking close to happening. It was that close to happening, dude. And the whole game, it was so weird because all I wanted was points, man. I wanted two dynamic offenses with guys who know how to work out in space, just going at each other, just strike, 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 strike. And that's what it was, man. That's really what it felt like. It felt like any moment a huge play could pop off. At any moment, an edge rusher could just like take the head off of one of the quarterbacks and the ball goes out and it gets scooped and goes the other direction. It felt like it could happen at any second. You know what I mean? And truly, even though it kind of started to go off the rails, like, I can't believe Texas hung in there. It was a game that at the beginning, I was like, I don't even know who I'm rooting for. Honestly, I didn't know. I was like, once the game starts and we're in the action of it and a big play happens, I'll know based on how I reacted, like, am I happy about it or am I upset that that happened, who I'm rooting for. I'll know. Dude, we got to like the fourth quarter and I still didn't know. I was like, this is just an awesome game. I cannot believe how much I'm enjoying this game. Then again, it kind of went away for a little bit and I was like, oh, I guess Washington's going to win. And then I kind of started to feel it. I was like, oh my God, am I rooting for Texas? And then they started to do it. And I was like, I think I'm just rooting for a great finish is really all that it was. But then as soon as that last ball was incomplete, shout out to Steve Sarkisian, though, for that like 15 seconds on the clock. And they do that like little rollout dump off into the flat to the running back. And he just runs out of bounds. They just waste 5 seconds to pick up like 2 yards. Sick call, Sark. What the hell was that? Bummer. Brutal. But at the same time, you know who won? The team that has the best chance at beating Michigan. And that's ultimately who I was rooting for. And that was Washington. I believed at the whole game that, yeah, this is, you know. Also, all year, what did we say? Whoever wins the Pac-12. And for what it's worth, just so I'm being fair, I would still sit here today. After the semifinals have been played in the college football playoff, we know who's playing for a national championship. It's Washington and Michigan. On January 2nd, 2024, I would still tell you that I think Oregon would beat both of these teams. And one of these teams has already beaten Oregon twice this year, and I'm confident. I'm confident Oregon would beat both of these teams. I swear to God they would. I swear to God they would. That's going to be a fun game, though, because Michigan has been capable of just grinding out these games. Was it Penn State that they just didn't throw in the second half? They just ran the ball. JJ's banged up. Whatever. We'll just grind it out. And that clock just goes and goes and goes and goes. There was a little bit of that in the Alabama game. If Michigan wants to do it, they can and they will. So it's that versus the quick strike. Michigan, they can do a little quick strike here and there, maybe on like some gadget shit. You know, they like to do those. They have some good ones in their playbook, right? But Washington has more. Washington has more of those quick strike plays. You talk about like a pass rush. That's going to be tough for Washington. That's going to be really tough for Michael Penix to deal with on Michigan's end. If they get basically any pressure on him, especially, you know, what's going to happen with Dylan Johnson. Is he done? Is he cooked? What's going on there? That's not going to be good. But, man, this chemistry that Michael Penix has with some of these receivers, like Rome Odunze, you just don't see it that much in college football anymore. You don't see the time truly that's put in between these quarterbacks and these receivers the way that we are. The chemistry that these guys have is undeniable. It's off the charts. It's nuts. The windows that he's able to get some of these footballs in because he just knows where they're going to be. They know where he's going to throw the ball. Like, it's bizarre, some of the plays that they can pull off for Washington. It's going to be an awesome game. I do think Michigan's going to do it. I do think they will. But I will be rooting hardcore for Washington. And, man, good for the... By the way, even with Jordan Travis, Michigan would have taken their heads off. We got a way better game. Like, all due respect to Florida State. I'm not trying to be revisionist or annoying. Even with Jordan Travis, Keon Coleman, all those guys, Florida State is just not hanging. They just weren't. Especially in that Washington-Texas game. That was the best game that any of the... Like, the only way it could have been better if it was just Oregon-Washington again. Or, like, Oregon-Texas. But, again, even Washington, I'm not trying to kick Washington out because they might win a natty. Like, I'm not trying to kick them out. They deserve to be here, right? They deserve to be here. Penix, we're looking at it now like, oh, should he have won the Heisman? No, stop it. It's okay that Jane Daniels won. It's fine. Like, we don't even care about that as much as we think we do. It's fine. Whatever. Good for the playoff, though. 2 years now, 2 years in a row, that we went from an average margin of victory of like 3 touchdowns to like 4 really good games. 4 really good games. Michigan, TCU, and Ohio State, Georgia last year, right? Right? That's what it was. I believe it was Ohio State, Georgia. Yeah, that makes sense. And then this year we had Michigan, Alabama, and Texas and Washington. 4 great games. 4 games that truly went down to the wire, and I still cannot believe that Texas game did. Really down to that 1 second left, 4th and 11 from like the 15. Like it is not more storybook than that. And I was like, oh my God, is this really going to happen? With Matthew McConaughey in attendance, is this going to happen? It did not. But it was a fun playoff. And I'm excited for the natty. You know, Friday's episode, I got to the end of it, and I was like really upset with myself because I was like, this episode, it bothered me, like how off I was, because I had just been on vacation all week, so I just wasn't in that headspace, and I just kind of sat down and started recording. And then by the end of it, you know, the amount of you who are like, this is one of the better episodes you've done, I was like, what the fuck? Like, huh? Unfortunately, I feel the exact same way right now, so I'm really crossing my fingers. But I think this one, there's a little bit more merit because I just forgot to do the playoff, which is literally the reason that I uploaded a day late anyways. And I was so focused on making the bingo thing funny. Damn it, Nick. Alrighty, folks. Well, we're going to wrap up today's show, and we'll be back on Friday with a normal episode. I hope everybody had a fun New Year. I am the king of like, we're in the Central Time Zone, so we have to watch New York. That's fine. I'm going to be asleep by 11:30. Whatever. I just pretend that New York's ball drop is ours. Even though they do one in Chicago on like local news, it sucks, but like they do it. All the like local news people just get like super hammered. Like, oh, okay. They don't have nearly as much star power or the budget that they do in New York because that's like corporate affiliated, you know? So the stars that we get at the Chicago New Year's broadcast is like, oh, here's the star from Love is Blind. Wow. Go to New York and they got like fucking Paul Anka doing a new rendition, doing a remix of My Way, which by the way, just use the lyrics, just use the right. People are like, oh my God, that was such a moving song. I just wanted to hear My Way. I can't sing along to this shit. I don't know what he's gonna say. It was stupid. Just sing My Way. It's a beautiful song. What the hell, Paul? Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen. If you are listening to this on Spotify, be sure to rate 5 stars. If you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, a little comment for the algorithm. I will catch you guys
Computers now have
in the
primary
next
control.
Beautiful.
Primary control.
Beautiful.
Primary control.
Beautiful.
Primary control.
Beautiful.